Before the fame, before the TV contracts, before the glossy shop shots and the polished builds aired to millions, Joe Martin was just a guy with a welder, a vision, and zero interest in the spotlight. In a world where reality TV thrives on volume, on shouting matches, ticking clocks, and over-the-top egos, Joe Martin stood out by doing the exact opposite. He was quiet, focused, almost monk-like in his dedication to the work. While other builders played to the camera, Joe often ignored it entirely. His eyes stayed locked on the steel in front of him, not the screen behind him. When Iron Resurrection hit Motor Trend, fans noticed something different. The drama wasn't between the crew. There were no shop feuds or forced confrontations. The tension came from the metal itself, the complexity of the builds, the delicate dance between precision and passion. Joe didn't narrate his genius. He lived it. And that silence, that discipline, became his signature. But long before the show, Joe had already built a reputation. From his days as a motorcycle artist and metal shaper on Biker Build-Off to running the original Martin Bros Bikes shop in Texas, he earned his stripes not with noise, but with craft. And when TV came calling again years later, it wasn't because he was flashy. It was because he was real. Reluctant, yes, but undeniable. Joe Martin didn't enter the world of automotive television to be a celebrity. He didn't want to be a brand. He wanted to be a builder, period. What most people don't realize is that saying no in the world of reality TV might be the boldest move of all. This is the story of a man who turned down shortcuts, turned away from showbiz fakery, and carved out something rarer than fame, respect. And in the high-octane, high-drama world of custom car television, that makes him a true outlier. Reality television had already knocked once, and Joe Martin knew exactly what that world demanded. Back in the early 2000s, Joe made waves in the custom motorcycle scene through Biker Build-Off, a gritty competition series that highlighted fabrication over flair. His bikes were metal poetry, flowing lines, raw power, and finishes so clean they looked carved from shadow. He won. Not just the competition, but the admiration of serious builders across the country. But Joe also saw the cost. Producers wanted bigger personalities, quicker turnarounds, more TV moments. Not everyone was in it for the craft. Many were in it for the cameras. So when Velocity Network, later Motor Trend, approached him years later with a new show idea, Joe hesitated. They wanted something different this time, they said. A shop in the Texas Hill Country. A team of real builders, not actors. A show about process, not personalities. Joe agreed, on one condition: no staged drama. He brought his wife Mandy into the project, not for a storyline, but because she already ran the business side of the shop. She was sharp, focused, and just as real as Joe. Their chemistry wasn't scripted, it was earned. Alongside trusted crew members like Shag, Shorty, and Kato, Iron Resurrection was born. The builds were honest. The timelines were real. The tension came not from fake arguments, but from the steel itself, rusted, bent, and begging to be transformed. What followed was rare, a show that didn't insult its audience's intelligence. No yelling, no clock-beating chaos, just calm, confident fabrication, and the people who made it happen. Joe didn't need to act for the camera. He just kept doing what he'd always done: build. But holding that line in the world of reality TV, that came with its own kind of battle. It didn't take long for the pressure to start. As Iron Resurrection gained a loyal fan base, producers began pushing for more content, faster edits, and spicier moments. They wanted storylines, conflict, speed, emotional arcs. But Joe wasn't having it. He didn't speed up a build just to please a shooting schedule. He didn't start arguments to fill airtime. If the work wasn't done, the camera waited. If the drama wasn't real, it didn't air. That was the rule. For Joe Martin, the build was the star, not the builder. But not everyone agreed. Behind the scenes, the tension grew, not within the crew, but between the production expectations and Joe's quiet resistance. Some cast members left quietly. Shorty, the fan-favorite painter, stepped away. Then Kato. No official explanations, no big goodbye episodes, just gone. Fans speculated. Had something gone wrong? In truth, it was more subtle than that. Scheduling conflicts, burnout, creative differences, and likely a growing discomfort with how the production world tried to shape something that wasn't supposed to be shaped. Joe never commented publicly. He never threw anyone under the bus. He just kept doing what he did best, letting the metal tell the story. Even as other car shows exploded with flashy sponsors and overhyped builds, Iron Resurrection stayed its course. The growth was slower, but the connection with fans ran deeper. Because Joe understood something the networks didn't. Real builders don't need drama. They need time. In the era of clickbait and content overload, the quiet ones stand out. Joe Martin isn't on YouTube every day. He doesn't flood Instagram with flashy edits. He doesn't live stream builds or chase viral trends. And that's exactly why people trust him. His style is slow, intentional, focused. He shows up. He shapes steel. He leaves the noise to someone else. As more and more car content leans into spectacle, compressed timelines, will they finish edits, big personalities, Joe's method is a breath of clean air in a cluttered industry. His audience knows the difference. They're not tuning in for drama. They're tuning in to learn, to appreciate, to watch the real thing get done. And through it all, Joe remains unshaken. He works beside his wife, Mandy, who still manages the business and keeps the shop running. The core team, though smaller, is tighter than ever. There are no spotlights, no ego trips, no social media flame wars, just craftsmanship. It's the same commitment that's kept Iron Resurrection running through shifting trends and production cuts. Fans don't care if it takes a year between seasons. They know what's coming will be worth it. In a world built on shortcuts, Joe Martin's long game is radical. He could have sold out. He could have cashed in, but he didn't. And that's exactly why his story is just getting started. Staying true to yourself in the world of reality TV sounds noble, until the consequences hit. While other automotive shows exploded with sponsorships, cross-promotions, and national marketing campaigns, Iron Resurrection took a quieter path. It didn't boast primetime placement. It wasn't overloaded with commercial tie-ins. And it certainly didn't churn out a season every few months. Why? Because Joe Martin wouldn't allow it. He refused to push out builds for the sake of ratings. He rejected fake tension storylines and scenes that turned a wrench into a drama trigger. That commitment earned him loyal fans, but made him a challenge for networks looking for fast-paced engagement. Producers learned quickly. Joe wouldn't be micromanaged. The result? A slower production timeline, less network attention, limited promotion, seasons that quietly dropped with minimal marketing, but always found their audience. And yet, Joe never wavered. While other stars leaned into TV fame and personal branding, Joe leaned into the steel. His shop, Martin Brothers Customs, didn't suddenly turn into a theme park or a flashy storefront. It remained what it always was, a working garage filled with hard-earned respect and zero theatrics. That quiet resistance came at a cost. He could have cashed in with merchandise, brand deals, paid appearances. He could have monetized his name like so many others. But to Joe, that would have been a betrayal, not just of himself, but of the craft. Fame was never the goal. Quality was. And quality doesn't happen on a network's timeline. It happens on Joe Martin's. Fans didn't get a farewell episode, no send-off, no explanation, just absence. Shorty, the beloved painter. Kato, the trusted metal master. Two essential pieces of the Iron Resurrection crew suddenly gone after the earlier seasons. And to this day, there's never been an official statement from the show or the network. Naturally, theories spread. Some fans speculated contract disputes. Others whispered about behind-the-scenes tension, maybe even burnout. A few believed the producers had pressured Joe to replace cast members for fresh storylines, something Joe quietly refused. But those who follow closely know. This wasn't some dramatic falling out. Joe Martin isn't the kind of person to air dirty laundry or turn personal changes into a media circus. The departures were likely personal decisions, related to family, health, or just life's evolving priorities. And Joe, out of respect, never made it a spectacle. Instead, he adapted. The shop's energy shifted, the builds kept coming, and fans, though heartbroken by the losses, stayed loyal. Why? Because Joe didn't skip a beat. He honored their contributions in the only way he knew how, by continuing to build with the same integrity and craftsmanship that earned them fans in the first place. No tears, no tabloid drama, just quiet transitions, handled with grace. In a world where everything is a headline, Joe Martin reminded us that not everything has to be explained. In reality TV, silence is a rare thing. But for Joe Martin, it's everything. He doesn't comment on rumors. He doesn't chase interviews. He doesn't fight critics online or clap back at viewers who question the show's direction. Instead, he welds. Joe's silence isn't absence. It's intentional. A refusal to be dragged into the noise. And in an era where oversharing is currency, Joe's quiet commitment to privacy has become one of his most powerful statements. But make no mistake, that silence came at a price. Networks sometimes hesitate to promote people who don't play the game. Social media growth stalls without constant engagement. And in a media landscape that values sound bites over substance, being quiet can feel like disappearing. Yet Joe's following has only deepened. Because the people who watch Iron Resurrection, really watch, aren't looking for drama. They're looking for inspiration. And Joe delivers that not with words, but with work. Every build is a response. Every clean weld is a rebuttal. Every episode is proof that you don't need to shout to be heard. Joe Martin doesn't do content, he does craftsmanship. And that speaks louder than any tweet ever could. If Joe Martin is the soul of Iron Resurrection, then Mandy Martin is its spine. From the very first episode, Mandy has stood beside Joe, not in his shadow, but shoulder to shoulder. While the cameras focused on the builds, it was Mandy who ran the numbers, found the parts, negotiated the deals, and kept the lights on at Martin Brothers Customs. And she did it all without turning herself into a reality TV persona. In a landscape where women in the garage are often sidelined or sensationalized, Mandy carved out her space with calm precision. She didn't yell, she didn't pose, she worked. She became the point of contact, the deal closer, the operations manager, and Joe's most trusted partner. But Mandy chose to focus on the one thing that mattered most: keeping it real. In an industry fueled by egos and image, she's proof that power doesn't need a spotlight. It just needs purpose. What happens when you walk away from the playbook everyone else follows? You either disappear or you redefine the game. Joe Martin did the latter. By refusing to compromise, by rejecting TV tropes, by walking at his own pace, he unintentionally built a legacy stronger than most famous builders ever achieved. Ask any serious fabricator, any true custom fan, and Joe Martin's name carries weight, not because he chased recognition, but because he earned respect. Young builders reference his lines, painters study his finishes. Machinists watch Iron Resurrection not for drama, but for insight. In garages across the country, his work has become inspiration, blue-collar mentorship at its finest. He didn't try to be an influencer. He became a craftsman. Others followed anyway. And now, with Iron Resurrection continuing through changing seasons, cast shifts, and industry noise, Joe's presence is more valuable than ever, because he's a symbol of what it looks like to stay grounded, to prioritize quality, and to survive the media machine with your soul intact. He didn't sell his brand. He built it one weld, one line, one curve at a time. And in doing so, Joe Martin reminded us all that longevity beats popularity, every single time. As the screen fades and the sound of grinders and compressors fills the shop one last time, what's left isn't a brand. It's a belief that in a world obsessed with fame, someone can still choose craft. That in an industry where shortcuts are rewarded, a man can still say, "Not here." That when everyone else sells themselves, one fabricator from Texas can build something lasting without ever selling out. Joe Martin didn't become the loudest voice in the room. He didn't cash in on controversy. He didn't turn his show into a circus. He just showed up every day and put in the work. And fans noticed. In a media landscape where most legacies are built in lights and noise, Joe built his in steel, in silence, in discipline, and in the unwavering belief that great work doesn't need a spotlight to shine. He didn't just restore metal, he restored integrity. So the next time you see a custom car done right, no shortcuts, no showboating, remember this: it might not be Joe's build, but it's probably one he inspired.